Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. Welcome to another edition of Know Your Tic Tacs. Today, we talk about the White Mage. Truly I choose to drive a manual transmission on my casual drive to work because it might slightly improve my fuel efficiency kind of class. It is certainly a class. Okay, so I will point out, aesthetically, the White Mage is one of the coolest looking classes in my opinion. However, everything else about them is, I feel like it's probably best embodied by the fact that you can go through all of their different staff weapons and it gives you a general idea of how the idea was there, but it's almost like it didn't get a second balancing pass. So let's go ahead and look at this. Like, looking down their list of weapons, we have the Serpent Staff over there, which basically just improves power for a class that doesn't really attack physically. You get a Healing Staff. Now, this is a bit of a staple, being able to hit something with your staff to heal them. That's pretty cool. You get a Mage Staff to get a magic bonus. This is fantastic. The Wizard has one that gets 4, but hey, that's fine. We get this one anyway. We get the Oak Staff that really doesn't do anything, and then you get the White Staff. It removes Doom. Well, it has a chance to remove Doom. So you can have your healer going and repeatedly beating somebody to death to get rid of their thing that's going to kill them eventually. Anyways, so that's kind of oddly specific. Let's go ahead and get into this class itself. So, the reason that I'm so down on the White Mage this time around, aka the Priest if you're playing the PS1 version, is because while in theory they might have seen a few buffs here and there as far as their speed is concerned, this class is there's not really much of a reason to run it, especially on Tactician. Now, I know, before somebody gets pissed and talks about how good Holy is, it certainly exists. That's about all I have to say for it. Like, yes, you can combine Holy with Math, and technically you have a version of Flare that is still not as good as just calculating death. So, there's that. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the rest of these abilities here, because their ability set is more than a little bit strange. In my opinion, a lot of their stuff is just basically a slower, clunkier version of stuff that many other classes can do. For example, everything from Kira and Kiraga, you basically can do this with a chemist who can do it instantly, can do it without any kind of costs or anything else. I mean, bear in mind, even on an ideal day without skills to replenish their MP, like, this skill ends up potentially running its course over the course of 10 turns, and especially if you need to keep on healing for a while, that can be a problem. Stuff like Kiraja there does end up coming out a little bit better in terms of the sort of efficiency arguments, but still, it is what it is. I feel like in many cases, a lot of the issues with this class are potentially immediately described through Raise. So this skill, this is one of the ones that's oftentimes seen as their biggest value in the early game. Something that essentially allows you to go and bring somebody back to life at a relatively cheap cost, and you're able to do this at a distance and whatever else, and then you realize that chance to fail, and that chance to fail is weirdly high. So this oftentimes will mean that if the unit being raised does not believe that they are capable of being raised somehow despite being unconscious, then it's just straight up not going to happen. So many times you might end up spending multiple turns to go raise somebody back, and if this was your backup plan, there's a decent chance that a unit's dying. So either way, I feel like if anyone's ever tried Iron Man runs of this game, you probably have plenty of memories of Raise potentially letting you down. Same thing for Rise. While it does have better kind of a situation here with raising somebody back at full health. Then we get into the hit odds thing. All right, so quick apology, by the way. Sorry if my voice is a little iffy today. There's been a cold going around, as it does, which I got rid of a few weeks ago, and now it's back. Awesome. Anyway, okay, so we got to talk about the sort of elephant in the room here, which is when it comes to their higher end spells. See, when it comes to the Priest, they get their heals, they get their raises, they get their buffs, they get their other buffs, and oh my god, they get their buffs. So, their higher end buffs, for whatever reason, have so many things going against them that it's almost not even funny if it wasn't hilarious, okay? So, for example, you can pretty reliably go and land Shell or, or Protect or something like that on basically anything. use that with math, you can be very reliable in spreading this around with relative ease. It's a buff that allows you to, protect against one thing, so it's good to be able to deploy that thing quickly, You know that it's coming. It gives you a way to protect against a certain thing. Not completely, but enough to be effective. Basically, you can think of this as an umbrella, okay? So this is a nice little umbrella that you're going to go and put over your unit. Then you get to the higher end versions, which inexplicably are like 20 to 30% less likely to actually land. Which is frustrating because oftentimes this means that they can have like 30% chance to go put up a slightly better version of their previous ability at more than 3 times the cost at a longer time. Technically you can deploy it a little faster, so there's that. But not only can these not be used with math, they're not really worth using over their baseline variants. Again, their main thing seems to be that they technically deploy very slightly faster. But now imagine if you're there with your umbrella. The rain has started. You have your perfectly functional umbrella. Now you also have the choice to go bring out one of those lawn umbrellas that has the little concrete slab that you put it into. So you basically drag out your concrete slab as you're getting rained on the entire time, go chuck this umbrella in there. Now the rain picks up that giant umbrella and blows it away. What a shame. It's almost like you probably should have gone with the easier option in that case. Okay, anyways, sorry, kind of an awkward metaphor, but let's go ahead and move on here. Point is, these ones are inexplicably very unlikely to hit, for whatever reason. I'm still not sure why they didn't update this for this version, but it remains the case that for some reason these just refuse to hit. Now, sure, with enough numbers, you can make these a bit more reliable. But again, at that point, it's just sort of investing in the manual transmission when your automatic one was doing just fine. It's not that there's anything technically wrong with it. It is certainly an option, and especially there for roleplay reasons. But everything about the White Mage is like this. Now, I will say one of their better things is going to be something like Asuna. Sure. It's also something that the chemists can do a lot better and faster and whatever else, and I feel like many people will remember that Asuna exists around the same moment that the vampire status exists. You know exactly what fight I'm talking about, only to then realize, oh hey, the White Mage, the priest, the one that you'd think would be a counter to vampires, can't do anything about them. Their best option is to kill something and then bring them back to life, because their ability to get rid of debuffs only covers some debuffs. Again, this feels like it should get rid of all of them, but alright, whatever, this is what we've decided to go with, sure. So yeah, it gets rid of basic debuffs, it doesn't get rid of advanced debuffs, so cool. Anyway, then we also have Holy. It's like Flare, but the priest has it, so yeah, and it looks like a UFO abducting somebody, which somebody pointed out in the comments the other day, and I cannot unsee that, so that's awesome. Basically same thing as with Flare, though. If you are playing on Tactician, it just does not have the insta-nuke potential that it used to have back on earlier versions. So if you're playing on Normal and Below, great. Holy is as good as it always was. Again, very, very costly ability to use, even on the higher end here. We're going to be able to deploy that twice before we end up getting burned out, so yeah. Alright, anyway, so that's neat. Pretty much everything about the White Priest is like, here is a bunch of fodder to throw at your calculator. Because realistically, their most useful stuff is the stuff that the calculator can use. Pretty much the only thing that they lose out on is like Kiraja, which is pretty fast and heals a bunch of health. That's awesome. It's great that they finally reached that snowball at some point. But this is one of those classes that I know I personally have run for its aesthetics, simply because the skills were easily getting outclassed by everything else on the team. Like, just the chemist was easily outdoing them in terms of convenience, in terms of deploying heals, in terms of recovery, even for debuffs especially. Like, it's still funny to me that holy water on the chemist, it has no equivalent on the White Mage priest holy person over here. Like, the holiest of your units is unable to sprinkle some holy juice over on somebody. It's genuinely wild. Additionally, when it comes to re-raise, this is very, very, very expensive. It's great to have. It's awesome that it's here. yeah, you can just use a bard to get this whenever. You can get a chantage to have this permanently. You can get angel rings to have it from the start of the fight. This is a way to have the re-raise buff, and that's about it. It's a very direct way to have it. It's really just fun when their buffs just completely whiff, so that's great too. Again, like with everything else, this you equip these so that you can go put them on your calculator, right? Arithmetician is why you go to White Mage. Realistically, you do not really stick with this class. In fact, even though they were on the lower end of the tier list that I put up not that long ago, I keep thinking they should have gone lower. It's just, everything about this class is just kind of needlessly clunky. Anyway, so moving on, we get onto regeneration for their reaction abilities, which, yeah, this has slightly more play than it did in the PS1 version. I will give them that. Because technically, in the PS1 version, due to, you know, their other stuff not necessarily being amazing, considering that their best staff is something you can replace with a purse in earlier versions that permanently gives you regeneration, then you might as well just run that, you know? But yeah, no, if they're hit by something, they regenerate. I have no idea why you'd put this in your reaction ability slot. Like, it's here, sure. Regeneration is not hard to come by. So it is certainly here, especially considering that they can cast it on themselves, and yeah, so it's not even an expensive ability for themselves, it's one of their cheaper ones, so using your reaction ability for this, I'm not really seeing any scenario where it would realistically be worth it. Even for characters with higher health where this might theoretically be a bit more useful, you just have a whole bunch of abilities that have the same cost or easier that are really far more worth the slot. Like, this is the same price as something like Autopot. Like, Autopot will give you an instant 150 right there. This will heal you eventually 3 to 8 turns down the road. By the time the regeneration is already worn off, like, it's weird. It's weird that this is here. Again, weirdly expensive. If this was like 100 JP and somehow double the odds to go trigger, that'd be great. No, kind of worthless, though. So yeah, we'll go ahead and throw that thing there. Additionally, one more thing that I just want to point out, as if there wasn't enough stuff going against this one as it is, the costs for their abilities are very, very high. Like, the White Mage is one of these ones that almost feels archaic because you can master multiple other classes in the time that it takes to get this one. This feels like something to the tune of like 3 times more JP to max out than anybody else. Like, there are many classes that by the time they get to job level 6 or 7 will already have the points needed to completely max out everything. This one was at 8 multiple fights ago, and still something like, what, like 2,200 short? No, not even 2,200. Almost 3,000 short to actually max out. So, it's, again, it just sort of feels like you need another pass. I don't know what's up with the White Mage. Why do they hate the White Mage so much? They don't. It's just, okay. This class is iconic, but man, is it mediocre at best. Anyway, moving on. We got magic defense boost. Sure. It's adequate, does its job. No movement abilities, and yeah. Then, as far as equipment goes, they have some. Staffs, as we already discussed, kind of get the short end of the stick. Not exactly a great weapon class. Aside from that, they get robes, they get hats, they get accessories, and that's basically all she wrote. So, yeah. What a class. What a class that you can say a lot of happy things about. So yeah, that's about that. I love these classes aesthetically. Like, the absolute frumpiness of the lady sprite is adorable. The fact that the male sprite looks like he's half drunk if you give him a equipped sword and have him swing around is hilarious. And aesthetics are about the only thing that I can say positive about this one in any version. Technically, in earlier versions, yes, Holy allowed them to also be a walking nuke while also having recovery. That versatility was fantastic, especially in this version, especially on Tactician. Yeah, this only exists to feed stuff to the calculator, and that's it. Okay, so that is about that. It's the first class that I've really been just like completely just dunking on the entire time, but I kind of think the White Mage sucks, but you know, you do you. I'd love to hear some kind of crazy meta build somebody's come up with. I guess technically speaking, as far as staffs go, they do get some better options once you get into like the post-game stuff and whatever else. Um, that's cool. I'm personally one of the things, as a little bit of a side note, one of the things I'm a little bit surprised by that they also did not change in this version is that you don't keep the stuff from the Necro Hall. Like, I kind of would have liked to keep the stuff from the Necro Hall. Like, I got a bunch of those three-headed dragons out of there, got the Zeus Mace. I apparently got to go to midlight for that. So, yeah, it just sort of feels a little bit needlessly tedious. Anyway, so, yeah, that's about that. So, y'all have yourselves a good one. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one. And yes, all of this is one big preamble to eventually talk about how absolutely cracked the arithmetician is. Anyway, we're getting there. One class a day. All right, moving on. Have a good one.